So hi everybody. So we've heard that some books have been banned from the library, including Da Vinci Code, which is a book that people mostly think contradicts what people believe in. And it's a view that when you go to the outside world, no one can ban you from reading these books in the outside world. In the outside world, no one will tell you stop reading this. And in here, we have been told.
I'm hearing this for the first time. I don't know whether the teachers know that there were any books that were banned. Who banned the books? I'm just really curious to know, and I'm really puzzled about the whole thing.
There was one afternoon, Precious took the Da Vinci Code from the shelf, and she told us that it's become an issue in school that, like, there was a time in class, people were talking, Protestants don't know much about the Catholic faith. But when you're a Protestant and you come and read the Da Vinci Code and you're seeing Mary Magdalene, it kind of contradicts what is in the Catholic faith. So when Protestants are questioning Catholics in class, it becomes sort of a conflict because you're like, why is Jesus doing this? This happened. And then people are like, no, that's not how it is, because Catholics are defending their faith.
There's a photograph in our dining hall that actually supports that book. People went to the dining hall and actually analyzed. No, it actually supports. There's a photograph when you enter the dining hall when it's analyzing the Da Vinci Code, the book. And people went to actually analyze that photograph. It is in the dining hall, but you will find a group of people near that photograph analyzing it, telling people how the W and the V form. It was a really contradiction. People were actually spending a lot of time analyzing these kind of books, telling us and it was to Catholics, it was like the people were infringing on their faith. And the Protestants people were wondering why this, why that. And we come from different backgrounds of families. And to you, you might think that a Catholic faith is wrong, but a Catholic doesn't think that. That was not bringing the controversial issues. That's why the book was banned.
Sometimes things can be very subjective, isn't it? And the way you see a book and the way I perceive a book may not necessarily be the same. Who has read the Da Vinci Code? And how did you read it? Did you read it as a novel?
The first time I read the Da Vinci Code was at home, and I didn't think of it about religion. I just thought it's a story. Then I came to school. Then there's this particular student who was in our hostel, and they're discussing about the Da Vinci Code and saying how it's actually true that there is a room in the Vatican that has all these things. And I was thinking, what? I thought it's a story. Then she's like, no, it's not a story. It's a real-life documentary that's been put in form of a story. So I was thinking, okay, so now they started discussing, and that's why it's a big issue, because people are discussing it, and like we're taught in CRE that Paul said, don't put the people who are weak in faith, don't try and tempt them, because people get so emotional when those discussions arise, and they're defending how, no, the Catholics don't do this, and they're defending it so hard, they're almost crying. That's why I thought it was such a big issue.
The book was on the shelves at first, How You Borrow on Saturdays, and it became a really popular book among the students. And people would come to the library, and if you wanted a book, people loved Da Vinci Code. And not just, it doesn't, how you love a book because it's entertaining. This wasn't love for entertainment. This was love for controversial issues. Yeah. So it wasn't, if a book was entertaining and it was popular, we'd understand like the Harry Potter books or the Hunger Games. Hunger Games was a book that was loved. But Da Vinci Code was a book that was loved so that you could argue about it. Yes.
So they were removed from the shelves and locked up. Okay? And then, were the students asking for the books? Did they ask for the Da Vinci Code? And then what were you telling them? And what was their response?
We were telling them that we locked them up because of the divisions it kind of created. So some of them got mad, they wanted them back on the shelf. Some of them were okay with it because they felt as if it caused a lot of issues.
Are the emotional discussions still going on? Or has it all cooled down? It's cooled down. Okay, that's very interesting. So everybody was coming in to read the Da Vinci Code. Yes. For the purpose of being able to take a side or make a contribution to the story. Okay, interesting. I didn't know about that. So for the future, what do you think you should do? Are there some books that you think should be kept on hold? Or do you think we can be able to learn from this?
Okay, mine is just a question to the people. There's a book that is in the library, the sequel to Da Vinci Code, i.e. Angels and Demons. And that is a book I have read personally, and I loved it because to me it was entertainment, not. But I also think it might bring controversial issues. So what do you think should do to the book? Ban it or let it?
There's something that comes to my mind now that we talk. Many years ago, there were books that used to be pasted, books that were in the library or even in the school that had pages pasted together. And what was very interesting, because I'm a biology teacher, and I remember when I looked at some of these pages that had been pasted together, these were the pages that were on just reproduction and reproductive parts, you see? And maybe to someone else that was there was a fear that we are exposing our students to things that they should not see because maybe they are not age appropriate. But you see, time changes, isn't it? And every time we release the newspapers that come into the library, have you seen the extremities of what really is in the newspapers? Okay? And there are times I've spent time with you on assembly and sort of talked about something just because I know that newspaper is going to end up in the library. I know that out there you are exposed to almost anything. And I think what is important is that you learn that there are things that you can read that may create some aspect of, one aspect or the other of conflict in you, whether it is morally, spiritually, or even politically. Because there are backgrounds that you're coming from that have prepared you to a large extent to be able to cope with some things, okay? Yeah. I never thought that we would reach a point where a book like that one would move totally out of that kind of level that I thought it would be to create division or emotional backlash, we can call it that, where people are trying to protect something. So what do you think it is that we need to grow?
I think people should be taught that in life there are many choices and they should be responsible for the choices they make.
I also think we should teach people how to be open-minded and how to receive different perspectives or views or ideas from other people, because there's some people, we're all from different backgrounds, and in class you're one. So when you're talking about something and this is how you've been taught to respond to something, you may not be open to someone else's ideas. So I think we should just teach people how to be open-minded and not to contradict or criticize what other people think.
Do you have such situations sometimes in class, maybe during history lessons or during CRE lessons, where maybe you're being taught or there's a discussion going on? I know Mrs. Onyango is here as a CRE teacher. And then, maybe people just decide, apana, we are thinking like this, and then there's an argument in the class. What is the role of the teacher when you have such conflict?
Most of the time, we have arguments in class, especially history classes, about probably collaborators and those who resisted in the colonialism. And I think the role of the teacher, most of the time, is usually to moderate the argument and enlighten the students on what is important. Like, tell them there were disadvantages and also advantages of both ways. So whether you get mad at each other or not, things remain the way they are. So certain situations should not create rifts between us.
I like the use of the word moderator and moderation, isn't it? Maybe this particular situation of the Da Vinci Code lacked exactly that, isn't it? Lacked that role of a moderator, maybe. So whom do you think should have been the moderator in this case?
I think the moderator should be librarians, because right now the arguments take place in class. Maybe the teachers don't know, and us, we take part in also those arguments. So we should, so I think we should be the ones to moderate the class from what different people think.
I think the moderator should have been a teacher, like Mr. Waweru, who's our library teacher, because you see, when I read the book as a student, I also have my own perspective. So when people are arguing, I'll take my perspective. So when I'm arguing for the book to be withdrawn from the shelf, I'm not using the role of a mediator. I'm using my role as what's my perspective of the book.
Okay, I'd like to hear what the teachers just think about the aspect of moderation.
That's one book I've been wanting to read. And the more we talk about it, the more I feel I should read it. You now argue from a point of knowledge. And for me, since I read so many books, I think reading that one particular book will give me more insights. Yeah, and it will not necessarily change my mind. Even for you young people, as you read, as long as you have, you know what you believe in, then that should not change your faith.
It's interesting that all this was going around and nobody knew. The teachers didn't know about it. But I think maybe what you should have done, you should have maybe talked to Sister Kingori, Mrs. Akatsa here, they are Catholics. Yeah, you should have involved them so that they can advise you. Maybe at the assembly, talk to the whole school. Yeah, yes, but knowledge is power. So I'm also curious. I want to read this book. Yeah, I know more about it. Yeah, so I hope it will be still somewhere. I'm interested in reading. But next time if there's such an issue, please just inform the office.
The reason why I asked the teachers to say something is, and maybe this may happen in the future, you're librarians. There are books here that we may not know are here or what impact they're having on the rest of the student population. I have read the Da Vinci Code, I've watched the movie, I think I enjoyed the two. Now the question is, the teachers, everybody is curious, do we bring the book back or not? Yes. Let's vote. Now listen, we just vote. Yeah. And again, if we are bringing the book back or not bringing it back, then we need to have reasons to support either so that we really understand. Because if we want to bring the book back just for a good read and we are mature and objective enough to be able to handle the context of the book, maybe that would be reasonable, isn't it? Yeah. The question is now, are we also able to handle the backlash of the arguments and the conflict and the emotional, challenges that come in as students? And as you think about that, don't worry about what other people will think of you, what other people will say, what the teachers will worry about, maybe the principal or maybe the school being a Catholic. Maybe those are some of the challenges that even the Catholic students need to think about. If someone tells me I've read this book, but it was outside the school library, I can still have an argument with you in class, even if it wasn't in the library, because it's a free world, isn't it?
Okay, so to decide whether to bring the book back or not, we have to vote for the book. We either choose the secret ballot or a show of hands. For those who want the secret ballot.
What do you want?
Yeah, what would you like to use in this scenario?
I think for now we should just vote by a show of hands because it's faster and you're able to give a reason to support your answer.
I'd also like to agree that we vote on basis of a show of hands, since people give their reasons as to whether or not they like the book back.
I also support her. So all for a show of hands?
All those ones yes. Yes, the book should be brought back. So we would like to vote to bring the book back or not. And we shall vote by a show of hands. So for those who want yes for the book to be brought back in the library, by a show of hands. No. And I hope for the vote you didn't vote because you saw that in your hand. You voted because you have, yes, your conscience telling you the book should be back. For those who said yes, why? Why did you say yes?
I've said yes, I think, but before you bring it back, we should first educate the people so that it doesn't get there again about the issues. So I think we should bring it back, but we give time to educate the people.
As we're bringing it back, since as librarians we've had this discussion about the book and its controversies and its good side, I think we should be the voice of moderation. When you find people arguing, don't join into the argument as a person taking one side of the argument. Be the moderator. Try and explain to them, but that just because it's written in the book doesn't mean it's necessarily true.
I said no because I don't think some specific people are ready to receive the books. There are people who just read the book for, as she said, for the sake of debate or arguing with other people. And there are some who are not open to other people's ideas. So if maybe you read the book, you'll still come and you start maybe, you start teasing like the other faith.
Let me ask you a question. What is school all about? Is school just about academics and learning what is in the textbooks? What else do you think we need to learn when we are in school?
Okay, one of the things we need to learn is we need to learn to appreciate things and take them differently. In the outside world, when we leave, after 4 years of you learning here, and you get out there, you will meet different things. You will meet these books and you will meet controversy. And you will not know if in this school we banned, we withdrew the book and we People had issues. But when you go out there, we won't have someone to tell you not to do this.
What do you think we should learn from this? Even as we decide to bring, if we decide to bring the book back, because withdrawing the book and keeping it withdrawn, is that going to help? How will it help? And what do you think we should be learning from this as students that are growing and young people who are growing up in a world full of controversies, isn't it?
Yeah. We learn that not everyone will accept our decision or what we agree with. We learn that everyone has their own say in everything. And we also learn that we have to be flexible to what comes to us. Not everything will be as we want it.
Very good. And you learn that you will always be teased, isn't it? You learn that you'll always be challenged, isn't it? You learn that somebody will always throw something at you. Okay, and that there are some things you can ignore and allow them to just go over you like water, isn't it? And that there are some things that you can respond to because you feel maybe they are worth responding to. But more so, we have to learn about how to respect each other's opinions, and being able to engage in debate without going personal or without becoming emotional about it, isn't it? So that we can be great thinkers. Okay, I think what I'll do, I think with the help of faculty, with the teachers, maybe this is something now that I will discuss with the staff members, make them appreciate that there was something that was going on, okay, involve them, allow them maybe to also discuss and talk with you. I'll discuss this also with Sister Kingori. Remember, this is a Catholic-sponsored school. Yeah. There is also what we feel as Catholics, isn't it? But I think at the end of the day, education and information is very, very important. And being very objective is also important. Sometimes when we create situations of that are subjective, what happens, people also react. And I think maybe because of our age in this school, between age 14, 15, we are used to being teased, and maybe we take things personally and we don't take it at a rational level. So we'll discuss that, okay? But I will consider returning the book to the library. But I think what I should do with the help of the teachers is to now look at the issue of healing and making people understand the values and the worth of a healthy debate. Okay? Yeah. So I think we'll stop there.